Stop before you blame yourself for one more thing today. That critical voice destroying your confidence right now, it's not yours. What I'm about to prove will disturb you because of the 8 phrases that programmed that voice. Your parents said them before you could even fight back. I'm about to show you exactly which phrases are controlling your adult life right now, and why phrase number 8 is so psychologically devastating. Most therapists won't even address it directly. But first, if you're tired of feeling like you're never enough, if you're ready to stop apologizing for existing, then what comes next will change everything. Welcome to the Psyche Weave, where we don't just talk about psychology, we dive into the depths that most people are afraid to explore. And here's why this matters to you right now. Every relationship you've struggled with, every time you've felt not good enough, and every moment you've sabotaged your success, it all traces back to these 8 phrases. This isn't just psychology, this is your life. Carl Jung discovered something that'll blow your mind. Most people think they're thinking about their thoughts, but Jung proved that 80% of what's in your head was put there by someone else before age 7. He called it unconscious programming. But here's what gets dark. Your parents didn't just hurt your feelings. They installed an entire operating system in your brain, and that system is still running your life. Now I'm going to tell you these 8 phrases, and I want you to notice something. Notice which one makes your stomach drop, because that's the one that's been running your show. That's your primary program, and the scariest part, you probably don't even realize you're still obeying it. Let's start. Or so ugly, 4 words that sound like they're about appearance, but Jung knew better. When a parent attacks a child's physical form, they're not criticizing how you look. They're telling your soul it made a mistake incarnating into this world. That 4-year-old brain, desperate to survive, makes a devastating deal. Maybe if I become perfect enough, invisible enough, small enough, I'll finally earn the right to exist. But here's what'll break your heart. That child is still making that deal today. In your relationships, in your career, every single day, you know that voice that tears apart your appearance before anyone else can? That's not your voice. That's your parents' voice, still trying to control you through shame. This one's psychological warfare disguised as motivation. Jung called this the murder of individuation, the process by which your soul becomes itself. When parents compare, they say, your authentic self is inadequate, become someone else to earn love. And here's the trap. That child learns the most toxic lesson possible. Love is a competition. I must win by being someone I'm not. They become adult chameleons, shape-shifting for everyone, knowing everyone except themselves. You know that exhaustion you feel from constantly performing? That's not ambition. That's a traumatized child still trying to win a rigged game. If you're starting to realize these aren't just bad parenting moments, but systematic psychological programming, then you need to see what comes next. Hit subscribe, because this pattern goes deeper than you think. And what I'm about to show you, it's going to explain why you can't just get over your childhood. This is the annihilation of existence itself. Jung wrote about existential terror, the fear that you don't belong in reality. But when a parent says this, they don't just wound the child, they wound the cosmic order. They tell a conscious being that consciousness itself made a mistake when it chose them. And that child's unconscious makes the most heartbreaking bargain. Maybe if I take up no space, need nothing, become invisible, maybe then I won't be such a burden on existence itself. You know that feeling like you're always apologizing for being alive? That's this program running. Jung discovered that children in survival mode split into 2. There's their authentic self and their survival self. Guess which one learns to run the show? This phrase creates what Jung called the false persona, a mask designed to need nothing, want nothing, be nothing, because the child learns that having needs is dangerous to their survival. They become adults who can't ask for help, who give up until they're empty, who apologize for taking up space. Because somewhere deep in their shadow lives a terrified child who believes their very existence is too expensive for this world. But here's where Jung's research gets really disturbing. These phrases aren't random. They follow a pattern, a psychological pattern that suggests something most people can't handle hearing. Your parents weren't just bad at parenting. They were unconsciously trying to kill your soul, not physically, psychologically. Because they couldn't face their own shadows, they projected them onto you. You became the container for everything they hated about themselves. This is what Jung called shadow possession. The parent who calls their child stupid isn't describing the child. They're confessing their own deepest fear of themselves. I feel stupid, and I cannot tolerate seeing this fear reflected in you. But here's the psychological trap that'll destroy you, that a child's developing brain absorbs this projection as absolute truth. They learn to hide their intelligence, dim their brilliance, play small. Because some part of them believes that being smart, being successful, being brilliant would be dangerous. You know that imposter syndrome stops you from reaching your potential. That's not humility. That's a traumatized child protecting you from being too much. Jung believed sensitivity was a superpower, not a flaw. He said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But what happens when the people who are supposed to love you most can't accept your emotional gifts? That sensitive child learns the most devastating lesson. My feelings are dangerous. My emotions are too much. My inner world is unwelcome. So they build walls, they numb out, they disconnect from the very sensitivity that makes them extraordinary. You know that feeling of being emotionally disconnected from your own life? That's not strength. That's a child who was taught their feelings could kill love. This is primal terror. Jung called it abandonment complex, the fear that love is always conditional, always temporary, always one mistake away from disappearing forever. Children who hear this develop something psychologists call attachment trauma. They become adults with two strategies: cling desperately to everyone, or push everyone away before they can leave first. You know that pattern where you sabotage good relationships right when they get close? That's not commitment issues. That's a traumatized child trying to control the inevitable abandonment they believe is coming. This is the most psychologically devastating of all. Jung wrote about the identified patient, the family member who becomes the scapegoat for everyone's dysfunction. That child doesn't just get blamed for problems. They become the emotional trash can for the entire family's unprocessed trauma. They carry guilt that isn't theirs, shame that belongs to others, and responsibility for problems they didn't create. They become family sacrifices. The one who absorbs everyone's pain so the system doesn't have to face its shadows. And they grow up believing the most toxic lie of all: other people's problems are always somehow my fault. They become adults who feel responsible for everyone's emotions, everyone's happiness, everyone's healing, except their own. But here's what Jung understood that modern psychology completely misses. These wounds, they're not just damage, they're initiation. You weren't broken by these experiences. You were forged by them. Jung believed that some souls choose difficult childhoods because they have sacred work to do in this lifetime. The very sensitivity that made you vulnerable to these wounds is the same sensitivity that will allow you to heal not just yourself, but others. Think about it. Who has more compassion? The person who grew up safe and loved, or the person who knew abandonment and chose to make sure no one else ever feels that way, who understands the human heart better, someone who never experienced deep pain, or someone who descended into the underworld of trauma and found their way back to the light. Jung called this the wounded healer. Your childhood didn't break you. It initiated you into a depth of understanding that most people will never possess. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop seeing these phrases as just toxic words from damaged parents. We're going to see them for what they are, the shadow materials you need to become whole. Because Jung taught us something revolutionary. You don't heal by getting rid of the shadow. You heal by integrating it, by taking the very words that wounded you and alchemizing them into wisdom. When you truly understand that your parents' criticism was their self-hatred being projected onto you, you stop taking it personally. When you realize their inability to love you fully was about their capacity, not your worth, you reclaim your power. Jung said, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. You've spent years looking outside, trying to fix yourself, trying to become worthy, trying to earn love that should have been free. But today you look inside. The question isn't whether you were damaged. The question is, what are you going to do with that damage? Subscribe to the Psyche Weave if you're ready to stop being a victim of your past and start being the architect of your future. In the comments, share one word, the gift you're ready to reclaim from your shadow, your sensitivity, your intelligence, your worth, your voice, because your healing isn't just about you, it's about breaking the cycle for everyone who comes after. Remember, you weren't born to be small, you were born to transform the darkness into light. Until next time. Keep weaving the depths.